Good evening and welcome, everybody. It is the 30th of August, and it's a Monday after what was somewhat a quiet weekend as far as local football was concerned. Only two games, of course, in the MTN8, the first of the semi-finals spread over Saturday and Sunday. But I guess also in the news cycle is the big news that there have been new captains decided by Coach Broos for the next set of international matches. We'll discuss Ronwen Williams stepping in to that big role as the captain of Bafana and deputized by none other than Percy Tau, who's also just finalized his recent move to Ahly. So much to munch on as we get stuck in. I'm joined by none other than Brighton, Greg and Kelvin this evening. Gents, welcome to the show. And
for sure.
No, thank you. Today, some of you learned important lessons around portrait and landscape, the difference, and it shows. So, thank you for upskilling yourselves. Gents, let's start with the big news before we get to what's happening with Bafana. But Percy Tau, of course, just completing that move from Brighton to Ahly. Thoughts on that? Player in his prime, decides to come back. I'll juxtapose whatever you guys say with what I thought was interesting from Coach Benni McCarthy. Remember, in the chat, please engage with us, your thoughts as well. We're going to dip into more of those tonight and also give you an opportunity to join us on the Zoom chat a little later. Who's chomping at the bit? Greg, you look like you want to take this one first. What do you make of the move, Percy Tau, from Brighton to Ahly?
For me, first of all, good evening, and good evening to our viewers and listeners.
We're just trying to fix football, guys.
Yeah, I feel for me, Percy Tau, for me, I think as a player, he just want to play. That's why he has to make that move. But if you look at it in the other aspect again, I think for me, the agent, it's okay. A little bit. I mean, he never worked during the off season, and he never really put things into place for fighting for Percy to stay in Europe. Because for me, Percy to play in Ahly is a big team, which everyone knows. They have a rich history. But for Percy Tau and his age and his capability in terms of where he is now in terms of his football career, I think staying in Europe could have been the best option for him. That's my personal opinion. You can go to, you can stay in Belgium. A lot of teams there in Belgium.
Yeah, it said he did have offers in Europe. Yeah.
So I just feel like there's big teams in Europe that he can still play for, which I think he can really improve his game. In everything, because he is one shining light in South African football now that everyone look up to in terms of as a striker. The next big thing coming from South Africa. Yeah, going to Ahly is not. It's not his fault. He just needs to play. So and it's a big team. Playing Champions League and fighting for the league in Egypt is one good thing for him. Right now he just want to play. So wherever he goes to, he just want to play. But if you look at the other side again, as I said earlier, I think staying in Europe could have been the best for me.
Okay. Brighton, agree or disagree? Upside, up move, down move, sideways move. How do you see it?
Yeah, look, we can look at it in whichever way we want to look at it. But I think the main important thing here, it's what the player wants, And he went as far as saying that he just wants to play football. What's the point of him staying at Brighton if he's not getting any game time? However, I believe that, yes, somehow we feel like it's a bit of a, backwards move for him because he has given so many South Africans so much hope to say we can break into the EPL, and having to look at it again is that he's been in the matchday squad a couple of times, many a times, if I'm not mistaken, and he was on the brink of breaking into the starting lineup. Yes, we understand that Graham Potter went as far as saying that he's gonna get two strikers who are going to be ahead of Percy on the starting bed, but you never know what may happen. Like now, recently, Mope, after Percy's departure, Mope, the other striker, just got injured. You understand? I believe that is that was one of his chances to step up and show what he's capable of. And he's been doing it with been a chance, So I believe that, yes, we might feel otherwise, like we do always have opinions, but it's about what the player wants. But at the same time, for his growth, I believe, and I think that the advisors should have been more, more specific in terms of looking for whether we discuss whether it's future long-term plans or short-term plan for him going to Ahly, But for me, as I said, I believe that it's a bit of a backward move, but at the end of the day, we'll have to support the player's decision and only wish for the best for him to do well and get to step up, because he did have a couple of offers overseas where he could have stayed and at least further his football onwards, playing abroad, trying to fight for Europa. Now there's this new conference league as well. So chances of playing European football were very high for him, as opposed to coming back playing the African league. But at the end of the day, everything lied with him, and we shouldn't forget as well the impact that Coach Peter has in him as well. Maybe it did play a huge role as well. We'll never know. We only know they only know what might have transpired, But all we can do is hope for the best and wish him all the best to perform at his level best as well.
Yeah, maybe Kelvin, some will argue that he'll now become an asset for Bafana in a sense that, he'll be playing at such a good level with Ahly, obviously in Champions League, having opportunities to even go to Club World Cups. So in that sense, he's not playing at a low level. He's still going to get a good fair share of high quality football. So what does that do then to the whole argument that, to become valuable to a national team, you should be in Europe? Do you think Percy might be able to buck the trend, being tested every week by fellow African players all around the continent, and then, bringing that expertise into a Bafana setup as the vice captain now? Your mic is off, Kelvin. Hey. Two steps forward,
hello?
5 steps back. What's up, doggy?
Hello. Yes, first of all, good evening to the listeners and my colleagues right here.
The viewers.
I would like to just off-ramp a little bit with whatever that they've said. I will say something different. Not all is lost. Everything is still in the kitty for Percy. It's for him to play. And also, there's no need for you to be ranked higher, but you're not participating. So you need to be there, day in, day out. Yes, the chances are very slim for him. Firstly, we need to look at the body structure of Percy. Is he a player that allows the Brighton squad to work around him? Yes, nippy player, short, understands the game, good left footer. They have a great understanding of the game. But however, him going to Ahly, I think this is where he's going to revive his career, because now he's trusted when he's there. So there's more trust in him, and also a benefit for us to see Percy playing more regularly. I understand the gents, or they will say it's a step back forward. For me, I would disagree. It's not a step back forward. It's not a step back, but I can say that this is a step forward. If I get matches still at a competitive standard, it gives us an opportunity to see more and also have confidence when he's called into the Bafana squad. Just as for now, he's been given another lifeline where he's given a captain armband. This is another way of trying to encourage the player to show us whatever what that he's been bringing into the table. Pito, I'm sure he might have had a long conversation with him in terms of what are the plans for him, how would it actually like to work around the system and the squad. Some of the players at Ahly would be leaving. There's keen interest also there. So also for him, there's an opportunity. I understand my colleague Brighton has mentioned that there's one striker that was injured. That was an opportunity for him. But for me, as I looked at it, it's not that Percy is not a good player, but I feel that the coach didn't trust him that much as in the leagues that he's been playing in. In Belgium, they were trusting him more than when he went to England. When he came back, they were under pressure to call him back because of the interest and also the way he was playing. But within 1 or 2 games that they fielded him, he showed us what he can do, but they did not continue on that. And that, as a player, it breaks your confidence in a way. you also start thinking that maybe a move away to also go back again and gain my confidence. Even though there were options that were there outside Percy, but again, a player would always have to look in terms of where am I going and what system are they playing? How am I going to apply myself?
So I guess, yeah, you're right. With Coach Pizzo, he can be at the center of a project with someone who knows him well and knows his strengths and knows how to use them. But I guess, yeah, in terms of that, what does that mean? You know, Ahly, people are thinking, you know, the likes of Benni McCarthy saying that to the point about, you know, about sticking it out, that it's not like he had like true world beaters ahead of him, that you didn't stand a chance. You know, if you have a Ronaldo, a Haaland, or whatever ahead of you, you don't stand a chance. It was players that he could have been as good as, Calvin. So, I mean, you know, to your point, I hear you, but, you know, will he ever realize his full potential now, do you think?
I think he will. But again, let us not try and then place Percy within anyone else. Yes, of course, it is a competition, or they were not like world beaters, as you just put it, the players that he cannot start. But if a coach doesn't trust, he doesn't believe in me, what am I going to do? Because I'm sure Percy in training works great. The reason why they called him back is because they saw a space where they could place him. But now that has failed. So me coming from a team in Europe where I've played like 95% of the games, and then I get into my team that has signed me and then they benched me, that's going to drop my confidence also. Now I need to start afresh, start working on my psyche, start working on my confidence before I would even be given an opportunity. It will be one up on me because already I'm being thrown in to perform. All right, so within the players that they have in front of him, and also the injury, bearing in mind that there would be injured players. But again, I think Percy deserves to also start, because we saw what we did when the coach gave an opportunity. Why didn't he continue with it? As I'm saying, also we have to look at the physical aspect of Percy Tau and how the coach wants his squad composition. Is he a right fit in terms of the structure? Does he want the player to be at that structure for his system? Maybe not. But if he was, immediately when Percy Tau came from Belgium, he was supposed to be a starter, because he has proven to us. He even played in the Champions League, which proved that, yes, he's capable. He can deliver for that. But when he got there, then he was benched. Then what's the use for me to stay there? To wait for when? An opportunity that might not maybe come?
Yeah. Greg, what do you think about him leaving Europe and heading to Africa? Do you think that does anything, or is it the same? Had he stayed in, maybe done a move back to Belgium, and then now moving to Egypt, is that maybe where some people think, maybe had he stayed in Europe, he could have been in the proximity of other teams that could maybe come in again for him? And some people maybe feel that now he's playing, you know, back in Africa, he might get forgotten on that stage.
Yeah, for me, as I said earlier, you know, with Percy, we always expect a lot from him in terms of he is the shining light in terms of South African football now. Signing for Brighton, it wasn't a mistake. They saw something good in him, and that's why they signed him. You know, he couldn't, you know, there's a lot of things that happened that time he couldn't stay. He went to Belgium and he proved himself. He played the Champions League with the likes of two Nigerians, the strikers there, which they did very well against Real Madrid. You know, they Ramos them, they tear them apart, you know, with their pace and everything and skills, you know. And for me, I just feel like, you know, staying in Europe could have been a very, very, very good option, you know, in terms of, you know, if playing wise. You know, you might not stay at Brighton. You might go to the lower division, you know, in terms of the first division in England. You might go back to Belgium. There's the Anderlecht, the FC Bruges, which each and every season they play the Champions League and they compete in the league too. So going to Ahly, I think it's not his own doing. You cannot fault him for that. He needs to play. So that's why I'm saying that, you know, it's advice our people around him that, you know, supposed to be doing their work off season. I think, you know, they were sleeping, because I think for me, there's a team in Belgium or a team in England that is how we play week in, week out, which will be good for him. You know, we have the likes of Benni McCarthy, you know, McFish, Steven Pienaar. Just stays in Europe. There's a time in Everton, Steven Pienaar don't play. He just come in as a substitute or for a full season. He never played. But he's stood there, he fighting, because you need to fight. Nothing comes easy. If the coach don't play you today, doesn't mean you're not going to play you tomorrow. So you might, the season is just starting and the window haven't closed in Europe. And already signed in Ahly, which is a good thing. We don't argue that because he needs to play. But we are saying that with the caliber of Percy Tau, with the quality he has, I think he deserves to stay in Europe and fight there, find a club and play in Europe there.
You're right. And I think Brighton made the point that, with the expanded competitions, there would have been opportunities there to kind of, be on a stage of some sort in that Eurozone, playing in that Conference League or even other levels, depending on where he ended up. If he had gone, maybe he might have been with the Europa team. Who knows? But it also goes to show that, when you have a coach who signs you and then the coach doesn't stick around and then the new guy tries and, to indulge you and use you as an asset of the club and it doesn't work out because obviously Chris Hughton was the one who signed him. Then Graham Potter couldn't get the best out of him. So I guess he's moved to the extreme opposites to a coach who can. So he's 27. Let's see what happens. But looking ahead, gents, obviously these World Cup qualifier fixtures, Zimbabwe versus South Africa versus Ghana. How do you guys feel about these games on the horizon, considering this new youthful Bafana side injected with some, just a different take? Maybe let's start there. What do you make of Coach Broos's squad and the players that he's got?
I mean, look, the coach can always, we as supporters, we can always say this one should have been selected, this player, this and that. But at the end of the day, I think the coach and the technical team, when they sit down, they do their own profiling, tactical and technically. They see fitting as to which player they want to select ahead of the team profiling that they do. Therefore, I can say that it's a much inexperienced team, but it has very exciting faces, new faces. And some of the players, they went on and did well during the COSAFA tournament, and they're doing well for their teams. However, we should be mindful because we just failed to qualify for the AFCON, which is still on the back of our minds. And this is a real test. I mean, when you look at their counterparts, Zimbabwe, they've just called up a very experienced team. However, obviously, they have minor crises in terms of the travel visas, in terms of going to the red flag countries, COVID countries, stricken countries. So when you look at it, you can see that, well, they are serious about this. This is the World Cup qualifier. And when you look at also the stats, I mean, from 1993 until 2013, when we played against Zimbabwe, I mean, Zimbabwe had won like 7 games and only drawn a few and lost probably 6. So it's been a toe-to-toe encounter, So these are the things that we need to look at. But when we look at the team sheets right now with the team that we've announced and what Zimbabwe has, these are the guys who've been at the AFCON qualifiers, AFCON tournaments, World Cup qualifiers, who recently played a serious game against Egypt, So these are the tried and tested and very experienced campaigners. So we'll just have to wait and see how it's going to fare out. But I mean, all we have to do, we just have to rally behind the coach. And we've been saying that we want a fresh new start, a new lease of life. This is the new lease of life that we've been asking for. And at the same time, all we got to do is just to trust the process. However, many will question that at whose expense, because chances are if we don't qualify, we'll be calling for the coach's head. So we need to draw the line to say, are we trusting the process that we're building? Because we did say the same thing with Stuart, saying what we were planning for 2022. And the 2022 is just around the corner, and we didn't see any result. We didn't see where we're going in terms of continuity, in terms of consistency within the selection criteria and so forth, So those are the things that we need to look at. We put up front and decide which direction are we headed, and then we trust in the process. So all we can do now is just support the coach and the boys.
I agree with you, but I'm looking at this squad, Kelvin Sosibo. I don't know if if you've seen the squad for Zimbabwe, but had you seen the squad as a player, you would have had an injury and not wanted to go to camp. I mean, the squad is Iwima. It's quite hectic. There's so many star-studded names there. And I think more than anything, right, is like you say, the experience. So, Calvin, what is the realistic expectation here? This is the young side cobbled together. They're not having played, that often together. But I feel like the Zimbabwe players have a lot of, let's call it muscle memory between them. So now what? What's the realistic expectation from these games?
We're going to build till when? We don't build at the senior level. What is the development for? Why do you have under 17, under 23, and so forth?
Okay, so you reckon these guys must be fully baked. The squad is fully baked. Yes. These players must be fully baked and ready to perform.
Yes, we want to qualify here. If you want to play this tournament where we want to build, do it on the under 23 and under 17 and under 20. Don't do it here because there's no patience here. There is no patience here. Whenever you select a squad needs to have maturity because you are playing at the highest level. This thing that you are calling youngsters to a senior team, there's no youngsters on the national team. Senior, there's no youngster. You do not call a youngster in the senior level. When you are called upon to perform for the senior national team, you take up that position. You also
become a
man. Apply yourself that now you're a senior player. Yes. So now let's start integrating players and understanding that you're not called up into the national team because you are opening up a window where you are saying, even if they lose, at least they are young. Young what? What's the age? What's the age? What is being young? Being young is playing at the under 17 and under 20. Don't tell us you are young when you are playing at the senior level. Why are you called for a senior level? To perform the duties. The squad composition that the coaches assemble, we might like the fact that they are fresher faces, but let's also look at the reality. If you contrast Zimbabwe and South Africa, there's a huge difference. So if we do get a beating, now what is going to be your excuse? No, they are young, they are still building. We need to qualify here. There's no building here. We need to qualify. And we need to make sure that those players, it's good for them to get a chance to cement their position. And also, I think this thing was done haphazardly. We're just doing a wholesome changes and refreshing. And also the explanation of the coach on how he refreshes the squad. You can't take up everything and then replace it with something. If you build gradually. Experienced players are always at the bottom to guide the youngsters.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to think so. Pindulo Ramasunga on the chat says, I like the squad, very youthful. The unfortunate part is that us South Africans will expect them to perform like Brazil, whilst we're at a very low level. We just need to be realistic. I think that last line is for you, Kelvin. We just need to be realistic.
Realistic is the name. Realistic is the word. And I think it goes a long way, guys. Let us stop saying these things. People that are called at the senior level, they are youngsters, please. If a player is 15 years and then he plays for Orlando Pirates or Chiefs, that player is no longer young because he can exhibit whatever that the coach has seen in him. So if he cannot, the coach will not call him up. So let us not make an excuse and have a safety net where he makes a mistake and then we say, oh, okay, he's still young. No,
Kevin, give
when
them
are we
chance,
going to grow?
Give them chance. Kevin, give them chance, please. Mr. Kevin,
chance
give them
to do what?
No,
why there's the development?
They need to start somewhere.
Why there is a development? Where is the development?
No, you have to start somewhere. You need to start somewhere.
Somewhere where? Somewhere where?
Why? Because the old heads that we always believe on them, they never qualify us. Even in 24-man country, they never qualify us. So let's start afresh. Let's start somewhere. We need to start somewhere. Everybody needs to start somewhere. There's a time.
But then when we start,
Greg. This is my point. When you're starting afresh, you don't break the whole house, boss.
Exactly.
When you extend
saying don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
So you are doing the wrong thing. You are encouraging the wrong thing here. You need to have a base, boss. A solid foundation will actually direct your house. I don't know, maybe you don't build the same. We don't build the same. So maybe that might be the difference.
You have Williams is there. So you have Williams is there.
But who else?
And who else?
We need to look at the spine. The spine of the team already. Yeah. There's no continuity from where we were. So the main important thing here.
Who else? Please support your point.
There's what's his name? Mbala is in and out in the squad.
No,
if I'm not
but we're
mistaken.
talking
come
about
on, Greg,
Mbala.
man.
How many
Come on.
caps? How many caps does he have?
No. Let's be realistic here. The people that you're talking about.
No, you are not realistic. You are not being realistic yourself. No.
Let me get my point. Wait, let me get my point. The Tyson that is the former captain.
He's not there. Please don't count players that are not there, Craig. Please continue with the squad that we have.
Not there. We're talking about the whole head. You say let us break the house. You say we must keep the whole head and start with new one. So who are you gonna keep there? Percy Tau is there. You have the main guys. So what I'm trying to say to you guys,
there's all performing guys, yeah. So there is
what we're saying is there should be a cohesion in terms of integrating the older players with the new players.
But on whose time, though, Brighton? On whose time? If you guys are saying that these things have to be done now, and Greg is saying those players couldn't qualify us then, why must we carry them over? How many chances do they get to help us qualify?
It's not all of them, Kamza. We have to look at the quality.
We need to look at the percentage rate as well.
You know, the old guys couldn't get it done, so why must we keep them? That's what the argument is.
That's where the experience comes in. We look at these players
that we have now.
The
last time, Brighton. That's what
we're
saying.
These players that we have now in this team, we compare them with their counterparts. Where are we going in terms of experience, exposure, and how many times have they played?
You cannot compare South Africa with any other counterpart. South Africa for most part, those other teams are winning. Those other teams are qualifying. Ghana is qualifying. Zimbabwe, they're doing well. So you must start somewhere. You must do somewhere because the old guys that you wanted them to be in that squad, they haven't done anything for the past 10 years. So we must start somewhere. Starting somewhere means you must destroy and start again afresh.
May I come in, Greg? But listen, there's one thing that you are missing and you're not mentioning. A national team of South Africa, when it's assembled, it's never in sync for 5 years. There's always chop and change. So if we're contrasting with the other national teams, it's not the same thing that is being done. So that's one point that you're not actually highlighting. With Nigerians, if you have a Nigerian team, they will be together for maybe 6 or 7 years together. Then the filing of the other players. Listen. Let me make my point. Listen. Now, you go to a Zimbabwean team. They've all been around within the same as South Africa, but they've pushed ahead, which means the squad cohesion and also the integration of those players that are doing well. They are there. They keep on the continuity. You are looking for instant results. When it doesn't happen, then you chop and change players. So why do you do that? What do you expect? Now, the same thing. You're going to see all these fresh faces. They want to lose these 2 games, and then what are we going to say?
They are out again.
They are young.
That's the cohesion we're talking about.
Calvin, let me give my let me give my point. Calvin, Nigerian national team, when you go for a tournament or you didn't qualify for a tournament, that team, the whole players are out. That is for sure. We don't have time to say we want to wait for them we keep them all the time.
I've been watching. I don't think that is true. I don't think that is true. That's not true. No, that's not true.
What has been happening?
Let me finish my point. Nigerian team that went to Egypt and played and went out in the semi-finals against Algeria. How many players remain in that squad? The first 11 is 5. 5 of them. 5 of them. Even Daniel Ateyi, that was the first choice. Now he went back to be a third choice. Nigeria don't have time to build or what is just say that no, let's keep them because they're not winning. South Africa, for a very long time now, they haven't won anything. And Kevin, me and you, every day we talk about if you want to be a big country in terms of football-wise in the continent in Africa, you need to start winning something. You don't.
Be consistent. First, be consistent before you win. Be consistent before you win.
Consistency of keeping them not winning anything. Consistency, you want to talk about consistency, not winning anything. National team we play after 3 months. Wait, let me tell you something, Kevin. National team we play after 3 months. The next in 2 years you play a tournament, which is the AFCON. So if you don't win and qualify to the AFCON you want to play, so I must keep them again for another 4 years. No, man, Kevin. We need to start somewhere, Kevin. Leave the old team. They didn't qualify for the World Cup. They didn't qualify for the AFCON. Let's start afresh. Let's see what this one is going to do.
Yeah, they can't do any worse, is what Greg is saying, guys. Greg is saying they can't do any worse.
I don't agree with it.
They can't do any worse.
I disagree as well. I disagree. Have we thought about
There's something that is not saying?
Yeah, and
okay, so
come to look at it, when you look at it, Greg, look at it this way. All these countries you're talking about, there's been continuity. Most of the Nigerian players, they played together on the under 23 or under 17s. They went to the World Cup as a team. That's the cohesion that we're talking about. Whereas with South Africa, how many players do you find in that squad who played together in the under 20s or now who just came back from the Olympics or and so forth? There's always a disjointed continuity when it comes to that. Therefore, when we're talking about, can I finish my point? Therefore, when you're talking about the consistency is always important in terms of identifying the philosophy of the team, the culture of the national team as well. These players that you're saying they didn't do well in the past, have you thought about this team? There's a team that qualified for the AFCON under Sheikh Mashaba. That was the team, to tell you the truth. That was the team. 1940. Listen, isn't it you were mentioning 10 years and so forth? You said from 10 years. So we're trying to bring you up to speed. That was the team that qualified for the under 17 AFCON. That was the team that qualified for the under 20, which was part of it, and went to play the World Cup in Egypt. And that was the team that went to play AFCON in Morocco, under 23 qualifiers for the Olympics. And therefore, that team, when Sheikh Mashaba took over, graduated to the senior team that subsequently qualified for the AFCON when it went to, which AFCON was it? Equatorial Guinea. You understand?
How many players were there, Brighton?
There were
that team was beating hands down. They didn't win one game. Right? What are you talking about?
But
it's a tournament. What do you expect?
Didn't they get us to
the tournament?
We're talking about team that give 4x4. You're talking about no Vikings. Don't talk about coach. We're talking about team qualified to the tournament and win it.
Okay. What about the team that just beat Egypt? What about the team that just eliminated Egypt?
Yeah.
What about the team
guys, I know you guys are going to make those examples, but you're right. We don't have those teams. We don't have that system where we can track people. Unfortunately, we don't have that. So unfortunately, we have to get creative. And that's what the coach has been brought in to do. So let's see.
He's a new coach. We talk about Sheikh Mashaba. After Sheikh left, how many coaches do we have now? We have about 2-3 coaches that came now. Broos came in now. He's given a chance. He said, okay,
more than that. Not 2 coaches. More than that.
That took us to the quarterfinals.
I don't know.
This man has won an AFCON, guys. Let's see what he can do. He's won an AFCON. Let's see what he can do.
No. Kamza, no. I don't agree with that. When he took on Cameroon, that squad was ripe, was ready for the tournament. All players there were experienced players and European-based players. So please, let's not make that comparison. The squad inherited with Cameroon is different from what you're inheriting now.
That's fine, but I'm saying that he's effective. The big stars didn't even play in that tournament for Cameroon, actually. So it was a lot of the home-based players that time. He was able to get that performance.
The point is they were there.
Now, don't change the point. The point you're trying to make was that he had the best tools. He didn't. He made do with what he had, and he did well with that team. That's why he's been brought in, Calvin. That's what they expect here. That's what he's been brought in to do.
Kevin and Brighton. In this team now, in this current bafana team, which player should be out and which player should be replacing the next player? Who is not in that squad in terms of current form? Who is not in?
I can tell you now.
Give you the lineup.
There'll be some Sundowns players. There'll be some Cape Town City players. There'll be. I mean, you can't please everybody. You can't please everybody. It is what it is. Let's see what he's done. If you
are building, you must please everybody. If you are
no, that's madness. You can't please everybody by building. When building, that's
you are building most.
No.
Building.
So are we saying? Well, okay, it's fine.
I want to know Cape Town City though, as a club, is it their place to be coming through and saying, "Hey, man, why aren't our players in the mix?"
Yeah, look, with Cape Town City, come to think of it, you need to understand that there was a Tamim Kize who's been a regular at Bafana, who's their captain as well, who's been doing well. Unfortunately, last season, things didn't go well for them, especially defensively with him and Tariq Philis as well, who was part of the national team setup, which for me, I believe that was one of the players that we could build around them because he's very solid, good height, he's very aggressive. He has all the attributes for a good defender, and he's still young as well, which I believe that we could have built something around him. If we say we're dropping the Tysons and, the other defenders, your Bushem Kwanazis, Tariq Philis should have been one of the defenders that can stand in as one of their replacement. He has good leadership skills as well. I mean, never mind that Cape Town City last season, they considered like 40 goals. This time around, they've been doing well defensively. They came back, and credit to their new goalkeeper, Hugo Marquez. He came in and he's solid. I mean, he's very authoritative at the back. So he did manage to stabilize a bit and brought some confidence in them. So I think they do have a say to say, look, I think our players should continue being selected to the national team. Every coach feels that way with any player. I mean, even Sosibo, wherever he's coaching, he believes that his players, they deserve to be in the highest level, But like you've said, the previous topic, because it's a very sensitive issue, when it comes to who should be selected and who shouldn't be selected.
Yeah.
But all we need to do is just have the solid criteria to say, look, we're looking at, if we're saying we are building, like Greg is saying, then what criteria are we following? And how many pool of players do we have? Are we selecting from? You understand? We cannot be bringing players for one cap. Next thing, this player is not here. There's nowhere to be found. And then we're going to pick up another player. There's no continuity there. That's the cohesion that we're talking about. So if we're going to have a pool of 40 players, I need to know that. I mean, some countries, at some point, I was looking at Belgium, how Martinez was doing things. He has a pool of around 50 players, whereby he phones every single player to say, guys, I'm not selecting you, Sosibo, because I believe that Greg is doing well, but continue working hard. Your chance is coming. And you are on standby, by so forth. You just have to be ready. So these are the kind of dynamics that we need to implement in our country to say, if we have a pool of certain players, these players need to be in line. If Sosibo is not playing, then who's playing ahead of him is very important as well. So I think they do have a case there to say some of our players, they need to be there,
Okay, and then next thing they come back injured and then they complain.
I think also the criteria comes again. The players that are being compared to, most of them went under the development ranks. Some of the players that we have right now, look at the squad composition and tell me how many players understand the philosophy of the national team. Yeah. This is another point. Okay. So from there, we need to start looking at that, because we are talking building. I need to build.
Yeah, but I mean, you got guys here who played it under at some age level together. The likes of Luther Singh, Kip Links, Kutumela. I mean, these are players who know each other from the years gone by, no?
Yes, that's okay. Now we're going the right way. So I'm saying those are the players that you have. Correct. Now, we do not need to have that disjointment between those players. Yes, those players understand what it is to be in the national team. There are players that just came in now that have never been into any ranks, development ranks. So now they have to firstly adjust to the level where this is a national team, it's not a team. You may perform good on your team level, but when it comes to the national team, it's a whole different dynamics. Everything is different today because you are playing against international players. That's for one.
Okay.
Now, playing local and playing international is different. That's why our top players that are here in our country, when they play the likes of Nigeria, Cameroon, or Ghana, you can tell the difference between those countries. That those who have a higher experience in terms of the international level, hence the tournament is an international stage. So now when we're building from that, let's start from the bottom, guys, and understand that when we are picking players, I don't have a problem with the squad that is being picked. But what I have a problem with, are you building around players that understand what does it take to be in the national team from a junior age? Don't build at the senior level. Build below, then you graduate those players.
I don't know. It's okay. Let's agree to disagree, gents, because that one.
But international exposure is very important, Greg.
No. I disagree.
Yes, that's what I'm saying, Greg. Let's agree to disagree. I agree with you by disagreeing as well. I also disagree, but Clearly, we're clashing here. I want to get into some of the thoughts. Hold on, Gary. I'm going to come back to you. So Mila Landu says there's no need for continuation in the new era. Why would the coach continue with players of the previous coach? There we go. That's what they're saying about Bruce. Hulisan is like, I totally agree with Calvin. For how long will we be building? Because every coach that comes, they always say we're building. Why do we have under 17, 23? If we want to build, that's the platform to build. Raymond says Brighton is contradicting his previous point with Phillies, a good defender who has never played. Sorry guys, disturbances here. Brighton is contradicting his previous point with Phillies, a good defender who has never played in the national age group. How now he must parachute to the senior team. And then Somila is like, where is Lebu Matiba in the squad? Called up for the AFCON in Egypt. Haven't heard of him ever since. Hectic. That's a good point.
But then
and
comes
also
the Phillies point. The Phillies point. How many players now that were selected out of nowhere that came on and played? You understand? Isn't it? We were questioning the point of saying Cape Town players, the city players, they were not selected. So now, how is it contradicting if we're saying we have a player like a Sitebe and a Brooks who never played junior level, and yet they are deemed to have international exposure, whereas the Phillies was part of the pool of the squad that has been selected by Stuart Baxter way before. You understand? So that's my point here is that there should be a cohesion and there should be continuity in terms of saying if we're selecting the player, we need to look at future plans or short-term goal. If I'm selecting Brooks, where will he be in the next 2 seasons? Yes, he's playing for TS Galaxy. Where is he going? Do you think he'll be part of the national team that will go to the World Cup? Does he have that international exposure that we require to qualify? Those are the questions that we need to ask ourselves, because international exposure is very much important and it's going to be key. We're looking at now the Ghana selection team. Ghana has a Mubarak Wakasu. Ghana has a Baba Rahman. Ghana has, obviously, who's this? There's this boy from Caleb Ebukani. There's Kudus, Mohamed Kudus, who's playing for Ajax Amsterdam. These are the players that we need to look at and compare and say, okay, do we have international exposure? No, we don't have that. That's the experience that we're calling for. That's all.
Yeah.
So
we'll
it's not about
see.
we look at...
No. I think the thing is, guys...
How many games has he played? Phillies, how many games has he played in the PSL where he has established himself and he has solidified his position to a point that all the previous coaches have called him up, irrespective of not playing for the junior levels?
That's fine, guys. But I think to anyone can shut your point down, guys, by saying this. Those guys qualified us for nothing. That's all someone needs to say to you.
Those
to
guys
counter
lost
your
in
point.
the quarterfinals. Those guys lost in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, but the thing is, that's fine. But they can still say that. But can we admit there was an aging element in that group, right? There was a lot of experience.
Where's the continuity from there?
There's no need for it.
Refresh the squad slowly. Don't just refresh everything.
Okay, guys. You guys must apply for this job after Bruce is done. When Bruce is done, you guys must...
I'm there.
Greg, let's keep it moving, brother. Your thoughts.
Let's
move on. We're going to the MTN
There's
now.
my CV.
Yeah.
Here's your CV. Next thing, Bruce, I feel like he might surprise you guys. I don't know. I want him to surprise us. I want him to do well.
I doubt.
Yeah, we're not saying anything. We're always saying we're going to support them. But at the same time, we need to be realistic and point out the few things that can be a concern.
So you're saying that, okay, then we mustn't expect anything from this group. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, because you're building. We shouldn't.
Okay. Hey?
No, we expect to win.
Expect to win. You speak about them in this manner, and then you say you expect to win. That's madness.
We support them.
No. I'm saying we shouldn't expect results because you are building.
So you don't expect them to do anything?
Isn't that what building for?
No. You, Calvin.
They will play. They will play.
Yeah?
Yes, but
what do you
shouldn't expect
much.
much.
What do you expect them to do?
I'm not expecting much because they're building.
Who says they're building?
Well, according to the coach, that's what they're doing. They're
But stand behind your point. No, but stand behind your point, right? Of that level, you are not building. Okay, stick to your point of that. It's not building time. If that is the case, and you believe that these guys in the squad are there as men to play for the men's team. What do you expect of them over these 2 games?
Expectations and realization, far different things. We
I hear
expect
you,
them
but
to
now-
win. We expect them to win. However, we feel like there are some shortcomings within the squad that will
But you
let us
expect them
down.
to win. But you expect them to win.
That's what
Okay,
we
is that-
always do. Yeah.
It's
We
an
expect them to win.
expectation versus the reality.
Yeah.
Expectation versus the reality. That's all we are saying.
Yeah.
Me, I will expect them to win, but reality says so. No.
Okay. So the reality of it is you don't think these guys are going to win these games?
No, I doubt.
For both of them, what is your prediction? 2 games, 6 points on the table. 6 points on the table. How many are we getting?
6 points on the table. Maybe you
6
might
points on the
get
table.
maybe
How many are
one.
we taking?
We might
One.
get one.
I think the worst,
Yeah.
the best we can get, it's both draws. I mean, looking at the stats as well. I was looking at the stats as well. Against Ghana, the past 5 outings, Ghana won 3 games. We drew 2 games. Which one I played that game in Moses Mabhida.
With the old team.
Greg, come on. You're talking about
With the
stats
whole
here,
team.
man.
There's no old or new. It's the national team. It's Bafana. Listen, Greg, let's not try and personalize things. Let's not try and
How many new regimes have you had before?
Understand? This is a new coach. This is a
How
new
many
team.
regimes?
How
New
many
regimes
coaches
have
have
you
we
had?
played against Ghana with? How many coaches did you play Ghana against with?
Guys, let's
How
see
many
what
players
Bruce is
have
doing.
played against Ghana with?
Let's see what he does,
Give
guys.
Bruce a chance.
Let's give him a chance.
and see.
I agree.
Let's give him a
I
chance.
agree. And on the last
Greg
word
wants
goes
to
to
laugh at
Sillo.
us.
Sillo says Ethan Brooks played for under 20 national team, bruh. Mbule Mukwena, Link Singh, Mabaliso played under 20 and under 23, gents. I agree with the selection. We've been asking for change in players for years. You see, that was the point I was making with you, Calvin, saying that these guys know each other. And maybe, it's that muscle memory of having played with each other that might be able to get them.
Time frame also is important.
Let's see. Maybe that is what the coach is hoping at least will help them gel quicker. Is that at some level, these guys know each other and maybe they can replicate it at the senior men's level. Cool. Moving on.
We'll be back here.
Well,
Let's
see. MTNH, very quick, gents. It wasn't the most exciting of games. Safranco off the mark. I guess that's a good positive from a draw that was, in the end, they made it look like hard work. But let's be honest, Bafana Standard did, show up. And they made sure that, listen, it's not going to be easy here. The rain also played a factor. Maybe Greg, Mr. Onyango and that goal, do we blame it on the rain? Is that a slippery pitch?
For me, I think, we expect much in that game in terms of, if the weather was conducive in terms of there's no rain, in terms of, the game, because with the rain, I just feel like, a little bit of, stop and start in terms of how the game, went on. But Golden Arrows never mind, because, they're from, the same Devon and they quick up the mark, in the 6 minutes, they scored their goal, which was a good goal. As a goalkeeper, Brighton will testify with me, with the caliber of Onyango. I think, he reacts a little bit late, towards that ball. Maybe he didn't see the ball. Maybe there's a lot of bodies in front of him, because, or maybe he never expects the player to shoot from that range. But I think it was a good strike, and when it's raining, the ball always flies, a little bit faster. So I just think that that give Golden Arrows a starting point, which make it to be an interesting game. If you check the ball possession, at the end of the game, you have Sundowns having 76, percent of possession compared to Golden Arrows 24. Which, you expect that, when they score Golden Arrows, they have to sit back and, play on the counter-attack. Shot on target, you have, 7 from Sundowns and 2 from Golden Arrows, which, you say much, about the game. And, with, Safranco coming in the 78th minute, getting that goal. And that was his first shot on target, and I'm just so happy for him. I just think, I pray it will be more goals to come from him, and you can see the celebration from the players. They were very happy for him. I think he has been pushing, towards the other game that he came in late, towards the 80 minutes, the 5 minutes, he didn't have this chance that he had. And I'm just happy for him. He scored that goal. I just think, and I pray for him, it's going to be a beginning of more goals coming for him in Sundowns colour.
Yeah, there we go. I guess, it's going to have to be a patient approach with them. Even the coaches have admitted that they do need some time for him to kind of learn the lay of the land as far as how the team plays. But Calvin, you figure that 2 bites of the cherry, Mamelodi Sundowns probably in that next round will have enough to see this one through. They got an away goal, and maybe they just might, with the tons of resources and players, they just shuffle that pack into a winning one, because that very much felt like a cup hand at the weekend, a cup side where you're trying to give, some people an opportunity to run out and get some game time. But they can turn the screw, Sundowns, in that next leg and just go all out with a star-studded, winning team.
Yeah, true. I think what caused Sundowns maybe on this game and Arrows let it go. Arrows should have grabbed the winner on this one and make it difficult for Sundowns. With Sundowns being the superior team in terms of the squad on their table, I think they got enough ammunition for them to come back stronger. And knowingly, the coach will actually work on the defects that they had as a team, which they had to score the late equalizer, which is something that was supposed not to happen. But with Arrows, them playing so well, I think the mistake that they made was maybe after scoring, trying to defend a little bit deeper, trying to minimize the lines, not to break into the lines. But they made that difficult for themselves because they started sitting on the box. With Sundowns understanding that, so they would find solutions on that. With knowing them very well, they will have overloads on the side and use their wing play. And also trying to involve Sefranco more into a target man and get the players to run off him, which is going to be a little bit difficult for the CVC and the defense for Arrows in terms of having to manage with the speed on the side with your Lebu, your Mukwena, your Serinos, who are creative players, the Zwanes who will be involved in the action. So I think it's going to be, they made it difficult for themselves. I think the best result was for them to squeeze that 1-0 win, but also not to stop playing, because immediately Arrows stopped playing, it made it difficult for them because they started receiving the pressure instead of them trying to push Sundowns, because Sundowns needed the goal. It's not for you to sit more back, but now try to keep more a consolidation line. Play a mid block, not a low block, because if you play a low block against Sundowns, Sundowns will always find solution as they're a good passing team and their movement are great.
Okay. Brighton, your thoughts on that one? I mean, also, I guess we mustn't forget to give credit to Siema, because, it's not often that you can force a side like Sundowns to just accept the spoils in a game.
Yeah, look, I wasn't that convinced coming to this game for Golden Arrows because for the past 3 games, I mean, I've been saying that I feel like there's a bit of sluggishness in between the team. I mean, the players, in terms of understanding the playing philosophy of the new coach, and they're still stuck behind with the coach Ngigazi's philosophy. So yeah, it's been kind of tricky for them. I mean, when I watched how they played against SuperSport, I saw it coming that one way or the other they are going to crack, because at first what they were doing, they were playing for the result as opposed to exerting the philosophy of the coach. And then fast forward, we looked at the weekend's game. I think they came out guns blazing. I think as well, obviously playing a big game like this one, it does motivate you as a player. All the tactics go out of the window as well, which they did well. And the weather did play a role as well, because Sundowns, yes, with their ball retention, it wasn't that good enough the way that we know it to be. And I mean, from the past 3 weeks, I've been saying the same thing over and over again. I'm worried about the negative transition from Sundowns. As soon as they lose the ball, they still scatter, and there's no sense of urgency into closing down the ball. And I think with the goal, it was evident, because it broke down right through the middle, and the player just went through, and there was no sense of urgency in terms of the distances between the centre back and the central midfielders. It was too big for them. One of them has to step out to close down the ball. when they took the shot. I mean, it's slippery. It's going to be difficult for the goalkeepers, especially if the ball goes through the bodies and so forth, you know. So those are the things that I feel like Sundowns, they just need to work on that. And I've been saying it for the past couple of weeks now, saying that, yes, with the tactically ball retention, they're good at that. But what they do when they lose the ball, the negative transition, it's a bit of a worry because they kind of slow, and lapse of concentration and body positioning, I think, is very key, especially for the Rook and Mvala, or the whichever central defensive midfielder Rivaldo could say, for all that matters, you know. So I think those are the things that they need to look at to say, what do we do? Do we counter press? Do we build a low block where we have 2 banks of 4 just to screen? As long as the opponents are going to play in front of us and go side to side, it's okay. But as long as we're going to stay in front of the ball, and then that would be better. So those are the things that they need to adjust to, or just to identify. And then I think all shall be well.
Okay. Well, I mean, some of the people watching the stream have some thoughts, and one's coming from Sumila Landu saying, Sundowns are wasting talent. Where's Malulega? Why not play him or Vilagazi in the midfield instead of playing centre-backs? This is why they're sometimes losing control of games. Brutus Aaron Masindi says, Onyango is finished. Coaches must bench him and give Goss a chance. Goss is a very good goalkeeper. We've got 2 goalkeepers here. I wonder if they're going to, give us an opinion on this one. Obviously, I don't know. It's like, Onyango, his place in Mamelodi Sundowns history is intact. But that at the weekend can happen to any keeper, surely.
Definitely. I mean, you can't be the best goalkeeper in Africa, and you're
having a soft spot, Greg. I can see you. Speak up, Baba.
No. What I'm trying to say, Kelvin, I say, for Onyango, what he has achieved in terms of the African football, with Champions League and winning the league, and he has done so much for the Ugandan national team. I mean, one of the best in Africa football, those things happen, he's just coming back from injury, and that was his first game, if I'm not mistaken. I think, with the condition on that day, it can happen to anybody, but Onyango have, week in, week out have been Sundowns, top player, I saw him now, the absence of Kekana. He's the one putting the armband, and he deserves it, and I think he's one of the shining lights of Sundowns,
Okay, fair enough. And then, I mean, obviously, in terms of this experiment, Calvin, they're running of centre backs playing as DMFs, and what do you make of that? Is that are they trying to make these players, multiple weapons, or have them have different skill sets? Because the point that Sumila is making, why not use players that are actually midfielders, and can play that role and can pass the ball. I'm sure the coaches would argue that those guys aren't up to speed because they've not been in the group. But any other reason you would think of as to why you can't involve the likes of, George Malulega and, Vilagazi on the bench?
Well, I think maybe within a coach, what his thinking is maybe just have to look at the point where if he wants to apply a counter press, and having to apply the counter press, you need your double pivot. So when you're playing with 2 pivots, it makes it more effectively if you're going to go on a counter press and closing the passing lanes. So within that, it's easier for you when you have players at that position to have an overload to isolate on one side, meaning that you can easily transfer a play from one end to another end. And it's easy for those players because they play more on a central role. So it's in the heart. So this is where I fell short to understand when Sundowns have 2 pivots and their counter press was so poor, because that was supposed to be more effective, because when they're having double pivot, it's easier for the number 10 to actually roam around and screen for the 2. And that makes it difficult for those passing lanes to filter through for them to find their strikers, the golden arrow strikers. But they allow that, and I think it's one of the things that they'll go back Sundowns and try and polish on them. But again, to go back to your question again, I think that's one of the reasons where if you're having double pivot, it means that you want to be superior on positional play, meaning this is how Sundowns play. This is their DNA. So when they have more numbers, it's just that so they want to suck you in so that they will always have a numerical superiority on one end of the game. Meaning that if you're starting from the build-up, that initiate a build-up play. So if one drops, one will sit in the middle. So then it pushes you to say, are you going to press high or are you going to sit? If you sit, we will build. If you're going to press higher, it means that you're going to open the passing channels for us to graduate to the next phase of attack. And if that doesn't happen, then it activates your Serinos, your wingers, your Franco to come shorter to receive or hold the play for the wingers to join in attack.
Yeah.
Okay. Spot on. Okay. Dope. So that's your question answered, Mr. Mr. Landu, there in terms of how they approach the game tactically on Mamelodi Sundowns. Let's then move on to a player who seems to be on his way out. He wasn't told before the season, but it just seems more and more it's rather ominous for Hlompho Kekana in terms of his situation at Mamelodi Sundowns. Greg, have you ever been made to feel like that, where people just stop treating you nicely at the club and all of a sudden are hinting at you to maybe, Greg?
He knows it very well.
Greg, are you sure you want to come through, bruh?
No, but you, I mean, Kekana, I don't know what to say. I mean, he's a super legend, I mean, today he's celebrating his 10 years at Sundowns, which, I mean, he can attribute, in terms of how, high Sundowns, when Sundowns opportunity came, he couldn't turn it down. I'm just so happy. He has achieved a lot. He's a legend of the game. He has done, I don't know how many league titles he has won, cups, and has done so much for Sundowns. I mean, one of the captains who lifted the Champions League. I can remember, with his top class goal in the national team. For me, Kekana, any day, any time, he is a top legend. Treating him, I don't know what's happening in Sundowns camp there. I think they're trying to, they're just trying to build for the future in terms of the age-wise. But for them to give him 5 years contract, I think, they saw something in him, So for me, there's a lot of things he can still go play for, if you want to leave Sundowns. But at this time of the point, I think, Sundowns will be one of the players. I think he might, if he wants to retire, it's gonna be a good environment for him. But if you want to carry on playing, there's a lot of things we rush, quickly want to get his signature. There's a lot of teams in the PSL that want to
on his wages. You think? With his wages, you think there's a lot of people who can just
No, there's teams, because basically if he goes out now from Sundowns, he's only gonna get a year contract, on an option,
pay cut also.
Yeah. So, I think, there's a lot of things we want him to come there, just to rub his experience to the youngsters, and for me, he has done so much in South African football, So, but I just hope, Sundowns will treat him in terms of the right way. No one, the clubs don't owe you to say that, we need to keep you, or they don't, you don't have the right. If they feel like you cannot contribute again, they move forward. That's the nature of the game. So, but if you look into the aspect in terms of what they have contributed for Sundowns to where they are today, I think he has contributed massive. So for me, I just pray that they can put him well, and whatever.
Right, and what is the best case scenario for Hlompho here? To Greg's point about him being a legend, what is the best way, do you think, Mamelodi Sundowns could kind of give Hlompho a send-off? Because Greg is saying that, he's put his name in the history books there. So how does the situation best resolve itself? Do you think that, because it seems like he's not going to play. So as the club, what do they do? What's the best way?
Yeah, look, I think first and foremost, he needs to sit down with the club, more especially with the technical team, the coaches, have an honest conversation with them to find out where to from here. How is he going to feature? Does he feature in their plans? What's going to happen? And if he is going to get game time, how limited or how much more is he going to get? You understand? Then from there, that's where he's going to make a decision. I mean, judging from what we see from the outside, obviously we don't know what's happening the inside. But from what we see is that he's been sidelined, and it seems like he's not going to feature much. and went as far as thinking that he's probably played his last game over the weekend. We don't know. But for me, I think the sooner he has that conversation, the better. And at the same time, he needs to be honest with himself as well to say, does he still have much legs to give within whatever team that he might want to go to, to finish off his career on a high, or he wants to end his career on a high at Sundowns, the way it is right now. So those are the things that he needs to ask himself, as to say, do I want to stay and get that little game time that I'm going to get whenever they need me, or I want to go and have one full good season wherever I might go, and just plant that seed, that just make sure that he goes and rub off the experience within the other structures. So those are the things that he needs to check, and then from there, I guess he'll have his answers. And from what I see, I believe that he still has a good 2-3 seasons in his legs, and he's going to give us one of the best, so the more you age, the more you grow wiser. So I believe that with him, that's what he can offer to any team. I mean, you have your super sport, they could do with his experience, and he once played there. You have the Morocco Swallows, they could do with his, there's so many teams that can do with his experience. All he has to do is just to establish if he wants to retire at Sundowns, or he wants to retire at a team where he'll be playing a good full season, which is going to give him a good send-off on the playing field, not a send-off where we're going to call him from the grandstand to lift the trophy that he didn't even participate on. Those are the things that you need to take.
I hear you, right? It makes a good point. But so what is it then? Do you go out at the top at Sundowns and you call it quits? Or because the thing is, anywhere he goes would be a step down, essentially, right? So it's like, yeah, you can go to a team, or you can just go out as a legend at the team that's at the top. What do you do? What would you do if you're in his shoes?
Well, if I was on his shoes, this is what I would do. Firstly, I'd have to consider my family. This would be my last touch in being in the 4 perimeters. And firstly, I need to understand that I need to secure my family now, because what I love and what has been bringing money for me is no longer going to be there, because what Sundowns are offering, maybe there's no other team that can offer that. But then again, we come into the reality where do I still want to fulfill the passion of playing? Is it about the money, or is it about the love of the game? But now things have changed. They are more on the financial side now. You need to look at that, because it's going to be a long stretch up until the real retirement, meaning you're not going to be working anymore. So even at the Sundowns, whereby they're having more younger players, and also the squad competitiveness, the refreshing of the squad is always there. Why? Is because they want to they want to compete most of the time. They want to find themselves participating in CAF, in the cups that they have. They want to win everything. With the integration of the younger players that are there, with the system that is evolving and the coaches that are there, would it be enough for him to have the legs to carry on within the system? Because there are systems that is going to force, whereby we're going to need speed, and also we're going to need fresh bodies and people that are going to be recovering in a shorter time than within the older players. This is some of the science that you need to look into, and we also have to look in terms of the age factor. Age factor, I'm not trying to position in a way that is old, because in the position that is playing, it needs matured players who understand and technically disciplined, because you don't just feel the youngster that is going to go all over the field. As a Sundowns that like to play compact and always wants to have dominance in terms of position. So this is one of the things that you could look out for. And also with Sundowns trying to have the dominance in the league. So that's why they bring in 2, 3, 4, 5 players per position. Because if they see that within the 3 or 2 that we have, they can always replace Kekana.
Hey, yeah, no, that's the problem. To go from being like the main man to all of a sudden becoming like a peripheral figure, like a ghost walking around. Klurkop there. It's hectic. Okay, let's have a look at the other game. Funny enough, I tried to him today. Oh, did you?
Yeah.
What did he say to? What did you guys chat about?
He laughed it off. I texted him. I said, "Hey, Mr. Ambassador, how are you doing?" And then he said, "You are starting." I said, "Which role do you want to take now? Do you still want to play, or what do you want to do?" In me, I have the legs. I want to play. But the situation is different when it comes to the family and also what I have to do for.
Hey, that's an inside scoop. Thank you for that one, Kelvin, for that insight. Cape Town City and Swallows played out to a 0-0 draw. It is what it is, I guess. Both defenses and both keepers.
Yeah.
Clean
I mean,
sheets.
for me, I must say credit. I still say credit must be given to Eric and his charges. You know, they've improved defensively. They've improved. I mean, for a team that last season considered over 40 goals, and then here they are. They come in this season. They already have 2 clean sheets, if I'm not mistaken. And credit must be given to Hugo Marquez. I still say that guy came in. He did stabilize. He did give the defense some sort of confidence. And I mean, prior to his first game, he only came in for a week. Didn't have much time to settle in, and he was very confident. Was very, very solid and very authoritative. That's one thing I liked about him. That he's very calm and his positional sense is very good. His footwork is brilliant, I believe. So they can always grow from that. And you can see even the defense, they have confidence in him, like the way they did with Peter Liebenberg when he came in. So they can always build from this one going forward. And I believe that they are a team to watch out, this season.
Yeah, I think they've always kind of flirted with being quite the party poopers that they can be, especially with Eric Tinkler in charge. I think he's got the capability to get something out of that team. We've got Solo joining us to just chat about the Sundowns. Good evening, Solo. How are you doing?
Hello, how are you? How are you?
Yeah, we're well, thank you. What's on your mind about Sundowns?
Silo, how are you?
Very good, Kevin. Yes, my worry regarding Sundowns, my brother, it's the style of play. It's beginning to have a decline. If you could check against the game against Arrows, they couldn't break through the defense. As you would check, like Jali and Rivaldo, they were playing very well, but the balls were being passed on the sides. So I saw it very difficult for Mamelodi Sundowns to cut through the defense because the balls were always going to the wide channels. And if you could check, there was no creativity from their number 10. Because usually that position is filled by Moshishi. And in Moshishi's absence, I see no one bringing any creativity there. So I foresee a decline, actually. I foresee a decline in the absence of Moshishi. Because Domingo, to be honest, he's playing well, but I don't see any creativity. Even Mudiba, I don't see any creativity. So I foresee a decline, and I honestly doubt that Sundowns are going to be the league contenders this season. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so you think that because of not being able to fill that gap when Mshishi is not there, there's no other player. So who would you like to see as cover for a player like Mshishi? Who do you think has the creativity to take his place when he's not around? Or are you saying that player go Sundowns?
Honestly speaking, the player I see is in Supersport, Sipombule, but at Mamelodi Sundowns, I don't see any player. To be honest,
you do have. You can use the Billy Mayema. You can use the Billy Mayema. You can use who's this other player? There's Billy Mayema. There's Liserika Pinga. Very creative players, very nippy players who play well behind the lines. And
don't you think Domingo needs time, Silo? Yeah, don't you think Domingo needs some time?
Domingo as well is also good, and Gift Mutupa can play number 10 very well. So you do have the players who can do that. The only question should be, how do we then integrate those players? How do we then give them the confidence without giving them, at Sundowns, the problem is that some players, when they go in, you somehow feel like you're on trial. Either you seize your opportunity or you don't. If you don't seize it, you are up there in the stands again, and you're a forgotten man again. So those are the things that it's just a matter of striking the balance as to how do we introduce these other players with the support of the players who have been tried and tested, who are going to help these players. With Domingo, when he came in this season, he started quite well, and he's going to pick up his confidence. All he needs is the players around him to uplift him, to give him the much needed confidence that they gave Mshishi when he came in, because everyone had where he started. That's where Mshishi started as well, before he was loaned out and so forth. So I think it's just a matter of giving them the confidence and having the players who are going to rally behind them to say, look, especially when we're playing with a double pivot. When you play with a double pivot, like Kelvin has mentioned, you need to know that these two players have to give the players that are ahead of them confidence to say, just go do your thing up front. We've got your back. We'll cover you guys. We'll just do the dirty job. That's the only confidence that the players need, because the ball retention is there. But now it cannot be effective enough if you're still worried about the negative transition. What's going to happen behind me? Are they going to cover me or whatnot? What are the distances between me and my central defenders? So those are the things that they need to strike a balance, and then everything shall be fine.
There we go. So I want us to look. I know you wanted your chairman to give you more money to buy more players, but you have the players to
Yeah,
fill the
honestly, I agree with Brighton there. I think that's the place where coaching will take like a lot of work there. Because now, if you check the players, I don't believe they are ready, as he said. But I think the quality is there, but I don't think they are ready. Because if you remember during Pito's time, like any player that arrived at Sundowns, like it would take some time for him to be integrated into the team. Because I still believe if Pito was there, I know most people are saying he damaged Maluleka's career, but I believe Maluleka would be playing now. Because now, if you check, Pito takes time for people. Because now, it's the way Sundowns plays, it needs time and adaptability. So I think it's very soon to integrate such players. I think Domingo, it's fine. He's been there for some time, but Maema, I doubt. To be honest, I doubt.
Yeah, I just think on that. I think now with the introduction of Sefanko, it has changed everything, because now Sundowns are having a point of reference when they have their striker. Before, they were playing with a flat 3, which there were more creativity when it comes to the final third. But now having a natural striker in that position. So what we should not look out for is finding a Sefanko defending more deeper, because that was the role that was adopted by Shaulile. And Shaulile did absolutely well, knew how to play between the lines and into the half spaces. So that Sundowns is blessed, have more than enough. It's just a matter of giving players a chance, which is highly impossible, because once the rotations start going, it's for a player to keep the jersey. You put it down, you lost. Then the next player has to come in. So in that, having to please the supporters, I know there's a lot of cracks that you might see, but let us also understand in terms of their setup this season what it is. They went for a more stationary striker more than they have to play with the floating striker, because if you look at Shaulile is more of a player that will move into the channel and play into half space. Franco is a player that plays within the box. That's why he could snatch that goal. But with the Shaulile, maybe he was going to be going on the wider position to have an overload, to have a 2v1, trying to eliminate the player. Then when the ball is crossed, then that's when you find Mushishi coming late and also wingers running into the box. Now you have a Sefranco that always fights and wants to be within the perimeters of the box. That's why he snatched that goal. Should have been not in that position. He had the striker's instinct to say he toe punted the ball and then it was a goal.
But now when it's like that, Calvin, I believe that now, much as you're saying, it changes the dynamics of the whole team. We shouldn't forget that the strength of Mamelodi Sundowns is the mobility and the ball retention within the midfielders going forward. Therefore, now, when it changes such dynamics, we need to identify now that, do we have any players that are going to feed off Sefranco as a holding striker? And now it means if we're having a holding striker, I don't see a need of playing a double pivot, because now we need two players in the attacking zone who are going to feed off Sefranco, whether on the left side of him or the right side of him. He needs to have a dynamic triangle whereby he has both options, both peripheral options in terms of left and right, which will create a triangle for him to opening up the passing lane so that he can feed off in terms of the third man running, because he's not a mobility striker. So we need players who are going to be good in terms of third man running, whether he's holding it, flicking it off, or playing it wide, waiting for the cross. So those are the things that I think now it's going to change the dynamic of how Sundowns play. Their ball retention is going to be less in terms of saying we get the ball, we try to go to the channels like they were doing over the weekend. What they did was different. I mean, with Sundowns, you know that they always go through the middle. They have the power and the technical ability to go through the middle. But this time around, it was a matter of overloading both wingers where the fullbacks are going high up, and then the wingers, they're still staying wide in terms of saying we're going to create an overload and try and find Franco in the box, you understand? So those are the two dynamics that we need to understand now, is to say, are they want to go with the same mobility in terms of overloading the midfield, or they're going to force to play wide again and try to find their target man. So those are the things that they need to look at. And the sooner they do it, the better, because at the end of the day, we still have that issue within the spine of the team, whereby the central defenders and the central midfielders, both the pivots, the body positioning, which is totally wrong. They're always caught napping. And this time around against Golden Arrows, it happened early in the game, which was 6 minutes, whereby the distances were not okay, the body positioning was not okay, and we didn't know who was coming or going in terms of the closing down of the ball. So those are the dynamics that they need to look at in terms of saying, we're going forward, we want to challenge for everything, but at the same time, we're giving away so many chances. Sundowns was a team that would never give so many chances in a game. But lately, they're giving so many chances in the game.
Yeah. Arcelo, what do you make of that? No, Kelvin. We've gone long on this, mates. I'm sorry, mates.
Yeah.
Yes, Arcelo.
Brighton's point is very clear, especially stating that you need to change the way you play with Franco in front rather than the Sundowns. I think, I fully agree with him there.
Let's see how it pans out. Silo, thank you so much for joining us, brother.
It was 1 second.
Calvin, let me get your thoughts. Let me pick your brain, Calvin Sosivo. Kaizer Chiefs, have they made all the right signings? The transfer window is closing tomorrow. Now they had one where it was open. They parked some of their assets last season. They've come into play, some of them, not as much as their fans would like as far as being blooded into that first team. But considering they are the team that had that embargo and that the window closes, Gausani, what do you make of the business they've done? And will they be fine for the season ahead?
Yeah, I think on my side, the strongest signing that they've made is Alexander Cole. I think for me, I'm more than satisfied with whatever they've got in him. I'm still disappointed within the coach of not introducing now Njabulo from Swallows to see what they can get. Because I feel that having a Njabulo Ngobu and having a Cole Alexander, that spine is going to be more solid now, because you have a player that is technically gifted, that can play, that can restart position, that is confident on the ball, can play long and short and support and also give cover. You have the same in front of you with your Cole Alexander. So now within the left hand side, I'm still not quite sure with the Hlanti and the Mabeliso. In terms of the technical side of it, I'm not happy with the left back, because everyone needs to is behind his recovery level. Understand that if that happens, are you going to play with the back three, or you're going to allow one to push? Which side you're going to activate more? Because Chiefs is a team that always will play on a transition, yes, but how is that transition coming to fruition? We have to understand in terms of the channel and the spaces and the half spaces, as a coach would tell you. The reason why the application is in that sense is so that you can have a quick counter press and win the ball and have a ball retention. But if that is not being fully effective, we're looking at a player in terms of when they defend, they struggle more in terms of keeping the center of the spine. Now they have a Dube, now they have a Nobo. Refresh the middle, where you can pull out the two, which is Matoho and Cardoso. Try these two that just came in, which is Dube and Nobo. I'm fully confident they can slaughter in there and then do wonders for the team. It's not that we're throwing Abu Matoho and the Cardoso away. But
Kevin,
also, let's have some refreshment. Can I finish my point, Greg? Can I finish my point?
Kevin. These guys are doing well. Not because the side players, they must put them. They must wait for their time. When their time comes, they must get their time. These ones are doing well.
All right, let me tell you something. With the center back, you don't temper with it. Yeah. And the contrasting factor that if you look at Pirates and Chiefs, they're having similar problems, but Chiefs have a solution right now. With Pirates also, they just gotten a solution with Olisa Harold. So now what I'm saying to you, you don't go out there and look for those players to keep them on the bench. When are you going to introduce them? Because if you damage the spine and the defensive line, you are going to back to square one. Get those players into to have fluidity. We saw what Dube can do in the national team. We saw what we've seen the Cardosos and the Matoko, what they can give us. So I can safely say when it comes to that, the signing chiefs that they've made, yes, I'm happy with them, but I think they still need to have to add an addition when it goes when you have to go on the wings and also from the striking department, because I feel with Castro and the injuries of Nokovic, it could actually backfire on them. So now I understand, Greg, what you wanted to say. So you say players must be given a chance, still win.
No, not given a chance. I'm saying that it is not broken. Why you want to fix it? Cardoso and Namato, apart from the Champions League, which I mean, we all know that it just Ahly was just too classic for them. Where they concede 3 goals. Apart from them, I don't see other game that okay, they have done bad. They have been doing very well in terms of the combination between him and Mato and Cardoso. For me, okay, after missing the penalty is part of the game, but he still contributes in terms of scoring goals. I just think they're still solid for now. The league is just started now. About 3 games now with the cup game. I just feel like, for me, those. Yeah, they're gonna come, step by step, as you say. With the centre back, you don't just accept this injury or the suspension. There you can temper with that. But for me, I think Cardoso and Moto, they're doing well now for now.
Yeah, look, for me, I'd agree with Calvin in terms of the acquisition of Cole Alexander and Patuchet Onange. That's the other player I'd like to add, because on previous occasions, you could see that Chiefs were a bit lost in the middle of the park in most games, whereby they couldn't dominate all the games, they couldn't dominate the middle. And you know that the main important thing, when you start losing your middle pairing, then it's a problem, because now the team cannot play, the team cannot defend well, will always be scattered all over the place. So I think for me, with the acquisition of Cole Alexander and Patuchet, they're going to form a very formidable pair in terms of attacking and defensively. So they just have to find a way to strike a balance as to who goes, who stays, and at the same time, the covering of the field as well, because you find that sometimes they are both in the same side where they leave the other side exposed, where there's less cover. So I think those are the 2 key players that are going to be important as to giving the back for the confidence and the attacking side the confidence, because with Patuchetto as well, he's good going forward. He can spread those passes. And with what we've seen with the transitional play of Stuart Baxter, it seems like it's the mixture of with the diagonal switch as well, whereby Patuchetto is good at that. We play one side, automatically switch the ball to the other side. So those are the things that they're going to need. But again, however, in terms of the fullbacks, like I've mentioned last week, Stuart needs to identify as to, is he going back to the old Stuart that we've seen previously with Kaizer Chiefs, whereby he plays 3 centre backs and 2 high up full backs, or if he's going to stick with the 2 back 4, then he needs to understand that the 2 pivots, he needs to add another midfielder who's going to stay central while these other 2 are going to cover wide. You understand? So those are the things that they also need to check and see how it's going to work for them. But I still say that for me, the 2 central midfield pairings are going to be very key for them this season in terms of going forward, giving the confidence to these guys, and the left players giving the confidence to their centre backs as well.
Okay, cool. We've got Hlaganipo joining us as he did last week. Welcome again, Hlaganipo. What's on your mind tonight? Your mic is muted.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, there we go. Loud and clear.
Hey.
Go ahead.
Yellow man.
Go people life.
The window's closing tomorrow, Hlaganipo. How are you feeling about that? You happy with your lot?
It's closing tomorrow, but I'm not gonna get to see Pombule, so I'm not happy. But that's story for another day. So I'm not getting. But I'm glad I'm not gonna carry him, because I think the type of coach we have, because I've seen on most social medias, Kaizer Chiefs fans, it sounds like they're changing their tone towards Parkster, but I don't know why, because I don't know what they were expecting. Because I remember when I was with you guys, I don't recall when it was, but you asked me what I make of Parkster's signing, and I told you that I'm expecting typical Parkster football, and that's why I don't know what Kaizer Chiefs fans are expecting. Of course, I'll be disappointed with. I'm disappointed with his style of play. Considering we have the players now, pound for pound, we have the players. We can compete. So now, like, I can clearly say that we have the players in all departments. It's just, of course, every coach has his own style of play. It's just the coach, because there are a number of questions I have that I'm like, why is Parker playing 90 minutes? Can someone please, with footballing brains, tell me why is Parker playing 90 minutes? Please don't tell me the whole, leader, captain. No, don't give me that. Why is Parker playing 90 minutes? I've seen, guys, why is Parker playing 90 minutes? And the past few seasons, Mato and Cardoso have been suspect. We need to call it what it is. Yes, Cardoso could score penalties here and there. Mato could, like, two good games does not away from the fact that they've been suspect for the last couple of seasons. They've been suspect. And we brought in defender of the season. And he's in the bench. What do you know? What are we doing here, guys? We brought in a defender of the season. We brought in Virgil van Dijk. You don't buy Virgil van Dijk and say
what? No.
Look,
You don't agree, Greg?
Greg is jealous. Greg is jealous.
No. Okay.
Let me cook. Well, I'll just making an analogy. I'm not saying he's as good as Virgil van Dijk, but I'm saying that you don't sign a defender of the season and say you're gonna slowly put him in the games. No, you put him in the thick of things. He's the defender of the season. And Ungo is good. There's no running away from the fact that he's good. It's just those little things that I've seen, that we have the players, wrong substitutes. Who brings in a gay? Like, we have Ungo. We have like that. I have nothing against Ake, but he has brought nothing to the team. Unkambule is still on the bench. Why is he still on the bench? I would gladly pay for his trip.
The coach is clearly seeing something in training. So, I mean, what comes in ahead of who? Ukatozo or Mato in your ideal setup?
So I would say just put in
Be mindful about your answer, Charaniko, because we had this conversation last week and I gave you a solution. And 2 days after, Cardoso came on and scored the goal. So be mindful about your answer, please.
Because I'm trying to be logical, but again, without putting my heart into it, because I love Umato, but I can say that, like, his legs are slowly running out. But then again, because remember, Umato in his prime was complemented with Mashamayite, so he made him look so good. Whereas with Cardoso, I'm not happy with him on the ball. He's on the ball. He's not good on the feet, but he scored penalties for us. A header once in a while. But I think I would put Ungo over there. I am surprised. I'll put Ungo with my toe now.
For now. Okay. For now.
No. For there, I don't think Barca we try that, because why? You remember under Barca when he was successful at Kaizer Chiefs, the main soldiers for him were Mato, which he scored a lot of goals with set piece. So when the coach come back, he always have that loyalty in terms of the player. Going to Parker issue, I think for Parker issue, for him to play 90 minutes, you have two coaches now. You have even on the
Gavin Hunt.
Now with Barca. There's something right Parker is doing at training. week in, week out.
No, besides that, I think it's a matter of the technical ability. The technical ability in terms of positioning, especially second half. If you can look at it this way, with Parker, he covers more ground defensively, right?
Yeah.
In terms of giving the younger boys, the guys with the fresh legs going forward, it gives them more confidence. So he acts as a cover in terms of when one midfielder goes forward, he's there to cover. So I think tactically, that's one thing he's getting it right. He's getting it right in terms of knowing his defensive zone and knowing when to track back. I think so.
To add there, you know, Parker is one player in that team that is street smart. You always need a street smart player in any team. And he's the one that, you know, when they are leading, he can cool the game. He has been there. He has won a lot of cups. He has won a lot of games. I mean, he is one player. If you want a player to be in that team, which you are building a lot of new players coming into Kaizer Chiefs, he's one player you always want, you know, to be in the team. And for him, his leg is carrying him. For him to finish 90 minutes, I think he's a very smart player. You know, he's a streetwise player, and you need that player in your team. I think Parker is doing very well for me.
Yeah.
Three things that Parker does well. For Tlagani, just to assist him on that. Parker is the initiator of a counter press, and Parker is the one that plays between the lines, and Parker is the one that understands on how to play into half spaces. Yeah. We might look at him in terms of defending more, but now remember that's a trap that they set because Stuart Baxter plays on transition. Transition meaning he plays on a counter attack. So when you are playing on a counter attack, you have your Parker that will initiate the counter press and push the team to one side. So then they can overload that side. Now, why you do that is so that you don't expose the midfielders where you have passing lanes, having balls for them to find the striker. So when you delay play, when you have a counter pressure, you set a pressing trap so that they can always rotate and rebuild or keep the position, possess the ball into their own area. But if they get a progression pass moving forward, then it becomes dangerous. This is when Parker becomes important because if they go on a side and have an overload of 2v1 on a defender. Depending in terms of the technical abilities, the player good, he can restart because you not press a player that can play, that is comfortable on the ball. So you set your action in a player that is weaker, you close the player that can play and free the player that cannot play.
Yeah.
Here we go.
I mean, it makes my only gripe is just the full 90 minutes because I've seen what Kelvin is talking about, but I just don't believe that's sustainable for 90 minutes for Parker. In the games that I've seen him, I'd rather have him start than get substituted off, you know, because Parker has changed roles from the Parker we know from being an out and out striker, scoring goals. He's dropped back. Even in that position, I wouldn't say he's the best we have right now, you know. And speaking of strikers, the transition between Utoli and Ukama Billiard, just moving away quickly from Parker, is I can see that Unokovic is not comfortable with that style of play. You know, that style of play, that pass style of play would want, like, you know, a false number 9, like, you know, one Roberto Firmino type player, not an out and out striker, a target man like Unokovic. You know, because I've seen him, he really gets lost sometimes. Sometimes because
he's struggling.
Utoli no Kama, they already have some sort of a synergy, you know. So then Unokovic is not that type of a player. So I think we might need a striker, but who can drop back, a false number 9. Like who's good on the feet. Unokovic, like we realize the ball or shiny, but you know, just playing the touches with the guys going forward. It's a bit of an issue for him. That's one thing I've picked up. But all in all, Kelvin,
don't you feel that Nokovic gets frustrated in the manner that they play because the Kama and the Dolly, they understand in terms of where they need to move and then how they need to position themselves. With the steward, we can always change it around and say we had the same kata that was the same as the Nokovic. But how was Nkata effective? Nkata was more patient. He understood what needs to be done. But remember now, they are playing mostly on counter-attack, so meaning that he's going to burn a lot of energy. And there are times where he's not going to be forced to stay up, but he needs to come drop deeper into the half space to receive. So allow the wingers, the dollies, the comers to find the spaces in behind the players. Because if he's a point of reference, if he holds a play, that's why you have your Parker there for those loose balls that will drop around. Then those balls will always go to your dolly, your Kama Bilal for a cross in the box. So if the Nekovic can stay between the box, just like the Sefranco, be more in the box more, you'll get more joy on that.
But the problem is that they also drifted him wide. They drifted him wide to a point that now the team is no longer working for Nokovic as they used to be last season. Now it's more of him working more for the team, because now you see how he drops. He drops. He looks like he's very lost in the middle of the park. Whereas what Kelvin is saying is that he can stay within the box. He can stay in the box and let Dolly and Kama work for him, and be patient enough to say, fine, it's coming. I don't have to drop. I don't have to drop deeper, because what he's doing now, he's covering a lot of ground between defensive and the attacking zone, whereby that's not the Nokovic that we know. And he ends up being frustrated. That's why you find now he's committing so many fouls. It's just all over the place. Whereas he should be patient enough to let the boys work for him, and the ball will come to him.
Okay, sorry about that. Kamza lost his power at home, but Nhlakanipho, you can wrap it up there with Chiefs.
All right, no problem. Thanks, man. I think all in all, for me, personally, I feel I'm happy with the signings we've made. Could have been better, but I'm happy with the signings we've made. I'm happy with the players, with the bunch of players we have, you know. And I think for me, it would kill me to see Ungobo, you know, Umshini, being, because I can see like he's being phased out. It really kill me to see that boy. He's a gem. I'd love to see that what that boy Unange and the Cole would do in the middle field. I would kill for that. But I think all in all, I'm happy with the signings. I'm not happy with the coach, but I'm happy with the signings. So now it becomes a bit tricky, because you are happy with what you have, but you're not happy with the person conducting or making use of what you have. So yeah, but all in all, getting behind the team, seeing where we go. But I'm not, based on what I've seen, I think it's the players who take it upon themselves to win us games, not Baxter's. And let me not disrespect the great coach that he is, but he's a typical.
His tactical acumen is good. It's just a matter of it's just a matter of saying, okay, what is he working with right now? You understand? Because look at it this way: Chiefs tactically, from the previous coaches and so forth, they were poor. They went to a point where you couldn't even recognize the structure, whether there's two banks of four or they're playing 3-5 or whatsoever in one frame. I think with Baxter, what he's good at is his tactical acumen. So what we need to do now is just give him the chance to find his feet with the players that he has. And you can see his approach as well. He's trying to introduce and implement his strategy. Obviously, it's not going to happen overnight. You understand? And at the same time, he needs to take the cautious approach in terms of saying, as much as I want to instill again that philosophy, I need to make sure that I win games or I don't lose games at all. So those are the things that they're going to take time. But at the same time, there's no time in South African football, because we demand results. We demand a whole lot of things. You understand? He already lost his first trophy. He lost the Champions League. You understand? So those are the things that are very important. And he already lost the NTNA. It's out, you know? So those are the things that, how do we then get to a point whereby tactically we feel like we are solid? I believe that now Chiefs tactically, they're starting to take shape. It's just a matter now of the understanding that Kevin is talking about in terms of the front three. How do we now include all the mobility and the tactical aspect of things? You understand? So those are the things that we need to look at. That's all.
What do you think, Brighton, with Unokovic. How do we navigate that, like Unokovic right now, like the whole Nokovic thing? What do you think of it?
Nokovic, I believe that he needs to stay central because that was his strength. His movements should be just half moon movements within the D line, within the box, and let Keegan and Kama Billiard, because Chiefs does have creative players who can work the magic. We saw now with the recent game with Keegan and Billiard how they were combining. Therefore, what Calvin Sosi was saying is very much true. When you have players who are like that, be a player like your David Villa. David Villa would play passive offside. He'd walk around the pitch and wait for that right moment. You get my point? So that's one thing that he needs, of which I feel he doesn't have that. Reason being, he's used to the responsibility that he got last season, whereby if there's no Nokovic, there's no goal. Now he feels like the position is threatened. Now there's this CBD that he didn't know where it's coming from. A whole lot of things, they play a factor psychologically to a player. So all he has to do, he has to believe in himself, has the confidence, and just be patient. It will come. Play passive offside and so forth, just come in and there, he'll get the chance. Let the boys in front of him do the mobility work, and then he'll get the chances.
Oh, there you go. Are you happy with that breakdown?
Yeah, thank you so much. I just have one quick question for the three guys. I just need quick answers from three. Where do you guys see Chiefs ending on the log at the end of the season? Calvin, Brighton, Greg.
Top 8.
Definitely top 4.
No, just give me a number, Calvin. Can I please have a number?
Number 4.
Number 4. Okay, let's go to Greg.
That will end number 5.
Brighton.
Between 2 and 3.
All right. Nhlakanipho, number 1.
Good luck. Good luck. All the best. But I mean it. Like, it's going to be an interesting season. Thank you very much, Nhlakanipho, for joining us. I think, it's not going to be as cut and dry. We're already speaking about how, Silo also as a Sundowns fan is not convinced of the way they're playing. So there are doubts all around. But another team that's stopped to reinforce is Pirates. They've signed 2 players, Kwame Pepra and Olisanda from Nigeria. Greg, what do you know of your fellow countrymen coming here to give some competition in that central defensive position, joining from Aqua United?
Yeah, I mean, he just won the league. He just won the league with Aqua United now. The season that just finished now. 23 years old, he's one of the rising stars in Nigerian league. He was originally with Romy Star. They loaned him to Aqua United, so from there on, and he become one of the shining lights, one of the top defenders. Normally Nigeria normally have this home-based Eagles, which they assemble every time. And his first call-up was, when in 2019, under Imama Kokuna for under 23. He was the captain, and he played in that under 23 team. But his full debut now, he was against Mexico, which, they get trashed 4-0 in US. So for me, he has done so well, for you to win that league in Nigeria, and as a central defender, for you to be called to the home-based Super Eagles, you really have the ability to see something in him, and for him to go to Pirates for trials and succeed, I think, it's a good step forward. For me, it's gonna add value. I left Nigeria for a very long time. So these are the new rising stars, coming from back home. So what I've gathered from him, I think he's one of the bright superstars coming out from Nigerian league.
Okay, there we go. And then I guess where a lot of the fans are crying, Calvin, is up front in terms of having another option. Obviously, it's not been successful times for some strikers who've come to Pirates, and now, we'll have Kwame Pepra be the next to give it a go.
Yeah, exciting times with the lack of personality up front, having injuries also playing a part with the Zakele Lepasa being one out, Mabasa being out. I think this is an exciting time for Pepper to come in, a 20-year-old, signed for 2.3 million, 12 goals in 32 league matches, which is quite outstanding. I think this is the firepower that they need. As the Orlando Pirates fans would be excited to see. What we just need to bear in mind is how we keep him motivated and having to integrate him into the team, because it normally becomes very hard for other players to come into South Africa and be a quick fit into the club. But I think with Pirates and the coaches that are there, they are going to integrate him well. They will make sure that he gels with the squad as quick as possible, because they do need results. They do need a number 10 that can score goals. I think Pirates, in terms of creativity, they have that in abundance, but what they're missing is a goal poacher finisher, and which is by one that they've signed for 2.3 million comes handy, and I think he's going to deliver for them. But even though I don't know how fast would he settle within the country, because South Africa is a good country, and we just hope that the light do not brighten the man's eye.
Okay, but what do we make of the Ghanaian Premier League in terms of a standard, Brighton? Him coming from there, yeah, and he's 20 years old, they say.
Yeah.
You see, if you check his picture and tell me if you think he's 20. But he's 20 years old. And apparently he scored like a bunch of, he scored 12 goals in 32 league games last season. I am guessing there's going to be some time, though. He's going to need some time to bed in. It's not like we're getting some top striker from a Champions League playing team and he's going to just hit the ground running. At 20, you expect that his development is quite a way off. So what is he coming in to do at such a ripe young age?
Yeah, I like how you're asking in terms of the league standards, the Ghanaian football compared to the Premier Soccer League. I mean, there's a huge difference, but without taking much credit away from him. I mean, he scooped a couple of Man of the Match awards with King Faisal, and he's young, he's very mobile, he's intelligent from what we see from the clips. But hey, we need to understand that the last time Orlando Pirates had a very successful striker from a foreign country, we can safely say it was your Tendai Ndoro, the late Dennis Lotters, And then when you go to the other like Western or North African countries and so forth, we're looking at your Blaise Lelombele. But other than that, most of the guys, when they came here, they struggled. They struggled because now what Sosibo has mentioned, the integration of the player between the striker and the older players that are there is going to be very key, because it's a player who's coming in now trying to form a bond and a partnership with the players who are already established within the team. You understand? So therefore, the communication part does play a huge role, and how soon is he going to settle in also plays a huge role. And the fact that he's still young, it does play a role as to, is he going to get the proper guidance from the players that are within the structures in order for him to understand the dynamics and the culture of the team. So those are the factors that have proved to be very, very key for him to settle down quickly, because there was a player from, I think, DRC, Makos, the striker. He ended up having to go back home without even scoring a single goal. Those are the single things that you look at to say, is he at the right place and does he have the right people around him that are going to give him support? Because for me, I still believe and emphasize that Pirates has top strikers in Zakhele Lipasa and Mabasa. I still say that a fit Mabasa and a fit confident Zakhele Lipasa, they'll bring you goals. So those are the players that we can at least build and try and work around them, as opposed to adding more pressure and more trying to get a quick fix. You understand? So those are the things that we can work on to say, we have these two players. How do we keep them fit? How do we give them the confidence? Because if you can look at Tshegofatso Mabasa's stats as a striker, they're above the goal chances per ratio in his game. They're up there because he's always creating a chance of scoring a goal each and every game whenever it's in. It's either a brace or a single goal. So those are the things that we can work on. If we need to implement bringing in a striker coach, we can do that. I mean, we tried doing that and it helped some kind of players. It helped your Gabuzas. They improved. Gabuza improved when the striker coach came in. So it's just a matter of trusting in the process again. We never trust in the process. We want quick fix.
Well, I don't know, Calvin. That was going to be my question: is when last did Pirates develop an elite striker? You know what I mean? If you got a 20-year-old kid coming into the system, is he going to leave better than he arrived there, you know, and not marginally. Is it going to be that much improved? You know what I mean? Because sometimes that's the hallmark of a good club. So, you know, it's not about you, what you do for them is what they can do for you. Is that you come as a player who's barely a diamond and then you leave and they hope to extract the value from you, having sold you for far more. But I'm struggling to just remember when last did they have a striker come, you know, become so good that someone just came along and took them. It's just everyone kind of just seems to fizzle out. Yeah, Frostler, I guess. Yeah. But I mean, is that enough? Is that enough? Do they create enough for us to think that this young guy is going to go there and become a better, more efficient striker?
Yeah, I think it's going to take time. As much as we're saying that he's young, it also buys into that. I think for us, it's a bad strike in a way because we could have actually looked in terms of the MDC team. Who can we bring up? Are we preparing enough players to come into the national to the first team, or do you want to spend money? What is the development for? What is the MDC for? If the MDC is there, it's for us to know that what is our goal. We want to get players ready so that they can actually be integrated into the first team, or we're just developing players for the sake of them so then we can loan them out. We don't want to see that. So a club that big like Orlando Pirates, they shouldn't struggle with that. Your Chiefs, your Sundowns, your Pirates, they shouldn't struggle with that. To go out and look for a 20-year-old, I'm sure there's a 20-year-old somewhere there at Orlando Pirates that maybe they didn't actually have a proper look at it. Yes,
yeah, but the club is actually saying, but that's what they're saying. They're saying that we don't have a better 20-year-old here. That's by essentially going.
There's a radio fan. There's a boy called Radio Fan there.
I know, guys, but the club has went and bought a 20-year-old. So what are they saying about the 20-year-olds at the club?
Yes, this is the point. This is the point that I'm coming to. That are they doing enough in terms of investing on the bottom league or on their developments? Surely they are not doing enough. If you'll have a 23-year-old being paid 2.3 million as a transfer to fly out from his country to come here, maybe it would be a little bit unfair to maybe contrast it in this way to say, is the standard of MDC level, if you compare it to the Ghana League, how far off are they? Meaning that Pirates can produce the same striker that they've bought if I'm looking at the age. And within that being said, it's always, for me, it seems as if they are failing themselves to go and get, if they're getting a more experienced striker, I would
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Because what they want to do. But getting a youngster, for me, pains me to say, even the youngsters that are there in the team at Orlando Pirates, they will feel hard done by seeing their peer, the same age mates, being flown out to come into and replace them. Then what's the use? Are we going to develop those players to give them to your Super Sport, to give them to your Polokwane, or go to the MDC? We need to make up our minds with it.
Well, maybe, I don't know. They've got plans for him. There's a lot of football on the table. Pirates, there's always a lot of football on the table, and still he's not bombing out of the competitions, Greg. Yeah.
I mean, in any way in the whole world, you have a 20-year-old, you have an 18-year-old going flying the other way, this one flying the other way. Before Percy went to Monaco,
you must be exceptional.
But so he's not exceptional. Have you seen his clip?
Being an import, you must be an exceptional player.
Yeah, that's why they bought him.
When you got here, Greg, you were exceptional when you got here.
Kevin, when Pirates buy a player, for me, I think they have done a lot of work. He's 20 years old, he's 19 years old, he's 23. It doesn't really matter.
Previous transaction, did they do the right work?
If there's a special player in the MDC, a lot of eyes are going to see him. The top scorer in MDC came from Golden Arrows. So what I'm trying to say, for a 20-year-old,
go get that top scorer there.
So Craig, you're saying if they.
Okay, I can hear you.
You're saying if they bring in a player, it means they've done their job. It's exceptional. They did the same deal with Muowo from Zambia.
Yes.
With Mulele was exceptional. Mundele. And mind you, me having to say this is that we as African counterparts, we face the same situation when we go abroad. They compare and say, but we have a Greg Itafia in England whom we can groom, as opposed to bringing a Sosibo from wherever.
Brighton, one thing you must understand, you cannot compare all you mentioned now with this boy without seeing him play. You cannot say that he's coming in, he hasn't kicked a ball.
The league is not the same,
but even Mulele didn't play.
No, the Ghanaian league, I mean, you have the Ghanaian league is the top league in African football. Let me just put it there straight. You cannot compare the NDC.
No, we disagree with that. No, Greg.
We're talking about money. We're not talking about money, Brighton. We're
not talking money. We're not talking money. We're talking the standards of play.
Standards of play.
Yeah. Standard of play in Ghana, in Nigeria, in Cameroon, it's a different aspect compared to South Africa here. Let me tell you.
Okay, how many teams have won up? How many teams have in Ghana lately, the past 5 years, who have made it into the CAF Champions League or the Confederations Cup? In the group phases, apart from Hearts of Oak, the only team that is Hearts of Oak.
Let me tell you, Ashanti Kotoko and Hearts of Oak. So who again?
That's it.
When was that?
When was that?
How many teams
when was that?
Gone out? No, but for the
last
10 years.
When was that? Hearts of Oak. Hearts of Oak. When was that?
Yeah. That was,
we had Vets, we had Sundowns, we had Vets.
We had Bitfest, we had Sundowns, we had Chiefs.
We had Confederation Cup, where you come out 21st round.
Yes, that's the question. That was the question.
We are saying that when you talk about a league, you cannot compare South African league. South African league is now that is coming out in terms of people are saying that Sundowns are won the Champions League twice. Apart from that, it's Orlando Pirates. No. What we're talking about 1996. Last time they won.
We played 2 finals. I played 2 finals, Champions League and Confed, Greg, within successions. I played with Pirates, I played Champions League final, I played Confed final in quick successions. So what does it say? And where was Sundowns?
What is it? No, what is that? What year was that?
Relevant, Greg. He's giving you stats.
2013 and 20. Wait, it was 2013 and 2013 and 2015.
Oh, okay. That was a long time ago. We're talking about.
Sorry, Greg.
So within that period, where was the Nigerian team? Where was the Ghanaian team? Within that period, where was the Nigerian team? Where was the Ghanaian team?
With South African team. Within that period, Nigerian team dominated South African team for everything. Champions League,
we were in the final. We were in the final. We were in the final. Where was the team?
Don't go to the final, don't win it. You must win it. We're talking about team by winning back to back.
Okay.
You don't win it.
And on that note,
give a 20-year-old a chance. He's coming from.
I will never. If we have here the 20-year-old, I will never do that.
Kevin, you went to Turkey. No one argued there. When you are young, you went to Turkey.
I was best. I was best. Yeah. There I started. I was starting. I was not in the bench.
He is the best in his league in Ghana. So he's coming to fight Orlando Pirates. He's not coming to fight.
We're not arguing that. All we are saying is he needs to show.
Give him a chance. The same way you want a South African player to go to overseas to play. The same way you must give a chance to a player coming from any African country.
Those players, Greg, are not given a chance. They deserve to be there. They deserve to be there.
Okay, guys.
They're not giving a chance based on the same thing we're talking
about. We're going to give him a chance.
Giving people chances at our expense. Those players deserve to be there.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, thank you very much.
When you kick a ball, you can judge him. Give him a chance.
Yes. Fair enough.
They're using a midfielder to be a striker. We have a striker now. Give him a chance.
Let's see what happens. Thank you very much, Greg. Thank you very much, Kelvin. Thank you, Brighton. And thank you, everybody who's tuned in this evening. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and obviously check out also the stuff that's happening on Vimeo. Check out the Front Runner Twitter for details around that. It's been a robust 2 hours. Gents, thank you very much. It's been a long talk. I want to go put my feet up. My goodness, that was tiring. I'll speak to you guys.